Hey, yo, it's Guido coming at you with the Tactics Talk. Welcome back, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And check this out. We have a new premium heavy tank for the U.S. line, T54E2, with a crazy paint job. Now, I do not know when this is going to come out. I'm going to do this review. I will post it in the next week or so. So potentially it's for sale before you see this review, but I won't know. So I'll get this out as soon as possible. But as of right now, the 8th of October, it is not available, and I do not have any essay on how it will be available. You'll notice that the T54E2 is a very similar number to T54E1, which is the Tier 9 medium tank. Well, this is a heavy, a tier down, based on the same hull. I don't know. It's one of those things. But they're looking at releasing it, and we have them for creating content. So as you can see, it's a pretty cool looking tank, actually. Really has that kind of classic American look. A giant tumor up on top. So we'll do an overview, take a look at the tech tree considerations, look at the 3D model. We'll do a comparison. Unfortunately, this one cannot be added to the comparison tool. So I'm just going to do a quick comparison between it, the T26E5, and the T34, which are also American premium heavy tanks. So we'll just take a look at the relative differences between those. We'll look at my stats after 20 battles, my setup, and then I'll give you some examples of gameplay of the T54E2 American Heavy Premium Tank. Let's get started with an overview. So right away you can tell this thing is just a little bit different than the other American tanks. It certainly resembles them a bit. You got the T26E5, you've got the T34, a similar hull layout, but the turret's quite a bit different, a little bit more sloped in there, but quite thick itself, and it has a very large tumor on top, whereas the E5 has a smaller one, but it's still there, and the T34 has the hatchway in the back as a weak spot there as well. And just a much more, I guess, a sharper or sloped turret, although this turret is quite long as well, which is kind of one of those things that a lot of the American tanks have with the very large back area where there's storage and such things as that. It is a relatively large tank, not the largest, obviously. The 100.01, the 7501 are large as well, but you get to the ISM, which is a tiny little thing. And most of the Russian tanks, interestingly, are much smaller, but you can see that it's quite a large tank. Big billboard size, sides, and that kind of signature track layout, road wheel thing of the American tanks. That's just very exposed right there on the side of them. Wide tracks for eating heat and HE, and it does have a quite angled front end, quite a bit more than the T34 when you take a look at it there, and we'll see how that actually works out for the tank with the thickness. Pretty cool looking tank, actually. I've got one of these special paint jobs on it, so it's all purple and whatnot. This tank was, we'll take a look at it here for the details, development of a new medium tank. Okay, that's a heavy in the game. To replace the M48 began in the 50s, one prototype built. In 57, the project discontinued in favor of the T95. I don't know if that means the T95. I don't think it's the T95 TD they're talking about, but some other T95. The vehicle never entered service. Maybe somebody can let us know down in the details below which T95 they're talking about. I would be surprised if it was the TD, but who knows? Who knows? That's the kind of research I'm going to do, the kind where I ask you to do it. All right, let's look at the tech tree considerations for the T54, not T95, T54E2. All right, so as it is a premium tank, it has all the top modules and doesn't obviously fit within the lines of the tech tree, but as a trainer, what can it do for you? The good news is that it's got the commander, gunner, driver, loader, so it is a direct trainer for your T110E5 Tier 10, commander, gunner, driver, loader, and it is a direct trainer for your 57 heavy tank, commander, gunner, driver, loader. One thing you do have to watch out, and I've been caught out on a couple of these, sometimes the extra skills go to different guys in the crew, so you'll just have to look at that. Going through all those permutations would take forever, so I generally just leave it out. They will cross over, but potentially, depending on where your radio operator has been put, whether it's the commander or the driver or whatever, sometimes those skills don't move straight across. It's just one of those things you have to deal with and pay attention to. The 103, the T32, the T29, they all have 5 or 6 crew members, so you will have extra crew members sitting about in those tanks while you use this as a crew trainer. And truthfully, these days, crew trainers are not nearly as important as they used to be. They can be important, but with all the crew training books and things like that, all the personal reserves, it ends up being fairly easy to get your crew going. But if you do like to move your crew around, especially at tier 10, they will move back and forth, no problem. Let's look at the 3D model. All right, here we got it on tanks.gg, the T95E2. Just watch out a little bit on this. Some of these numbers, especially in the stats for the gun and whatnot, are wrong. This tank has not been put out yet, and they've got some of the earlier test stats still rolling around. But in general, this does let you know more or less how the armor layout is. I told you about the weak spot, that big tumor. That will be shot pretty easily. It's so big, it can be hit at range, decently at medium range. So do be careful about that. That is one of the biggest weaknesses of this thing. And especially since it's a good ridge poking tank, it's unfortunate the tumor comes up over the ridge first. So that's definitely something you've got to watch out for. Once you get hold down and start to be a little look down, you'll notice that that upper plate gets extremely strong. Gets into that kind of ricochet, auto bounce regime, but the lower plate itself is fairly weak. So if you expose that, then people are going to be buttering straight through it. I did show you on the initial overview, it has that kind of curved lower plate that the 110E5 does, and I believe the 103. So if you put a little angle on it, things can get a little goofy. Now it shows it more or less flat right here, but if you look at the model itself in the game, it is a bit rounded. Sometimes those angles can be really goofy, especially if you're rocking or wiggling right to left. You can cause some issues. You see the turret is quite nice. Nice mantlet, very thick mantlet. Good turret as far as the rounded goes, but once you start to flat plate it, it's almost nothing. People down at tier 6 are going to have not too much trouble punching through the side of that thing. And of course the big billboard side just doesn't have a whole bunch right there. All right, let's move on to the next. Unfortunately, it is not on the comparison tool, so we're just going to do a quick comparison between it, the T26E5, and the T34, which are the other two American premium heavy tanks. And I think we find a couple interesting things right here. So here it is. Looking up over here on the numbers, we got 360 alpha, 226 pen, a reload time of 8.42 seconds, and a gun traverse of 37, which we go to the lighter armed T26E5, and it's hitting 240 alpha with 230 pen, a faster rate of fire, slower or quicker reload time, but look at its gun traverse at 26, much worse. They both have -10 depression, which is nice, and then of course the T34, which is the old reliable, same gun depression, more alpha, really good penetration, 4.74 on the rate of fire, but a really slow reload time. And a 19.2 gun for traverse speed. So you'll find the T54 E2 can really get its turret turning around and is much more comfortable as far as fighting multiple guys in different angles and getting your turret on them quickly. Aiming time's 2.73 on the big slow guy. We got 1.96. This is known for a good aiming time with a dispersion of 336. T34's dispersion of 33, and we look at this one, and it's kind of in between it at 35 with a 2.29 aiming time, which is relatively comfortable. Not great, but okay. It's DPM. Now remember, this is for the setup that I have with the crews, so it's not exactly perfect because I have different crews, but although this one happens to be a decent crew, and I am running vents and a gun rammer on this particular setup here with no food, but I'm looking at 2565 DPM, whereas I'm only getting 2370 out of the T26E5, and I've only got 1896 out of the T34 with relatively comparable setups, although I'm not running vents on this guy, and I'm not running vents on this guy. In fact, I have gun laying drive on these as well. Alright, hit points are about the same. We're at 1500, 1500, and 1500, so they're not about the same, they're exactly the same. Note the hull armor on the T34 is fairly light, and it's got that known really great turret. T26 has a better hull at 190 and a 152 turret. The T26E5's turret is a little bit indifferent. It's okay, it's got a big mantlet that's decent, but it's not amazing. The 54E2's turret is quite good, approaching the level of the T34 with 250, but it's also got the 140 hull armor. Now there's that kind of rounded lower plate I was talking about a bit earlier. If you get an angle like that and they shoot over to the side like that, however, you're flat plating from this side, so it's a it's a trade-off. Yeah, I'm going to angle it a little bit, but then I've also sort of flat plated this little edge right here. But the hull armor is quite a bit better than, say, the T34, which is just butter. And remember, when you looked at it and you were look up at this guy, that made that very strong. But look how big the lower plate is right there. As far as the maneuverability goes on this thing, 45 is the top speed, 17 backwards. Traverse is 38, which is quite nice. it's better actually than the T26E5, and this is a fairly agile heavy tank, and it only has a 40 top speed. So we've got 5 more top speed, better traverse speed, better turret turning, and this just feels like a much more nimble tank than even the T26E5. Of course, the 34 is a slug at 23. It only does 35. Nowhere near the mobility of the 54E2. Concealment, and what can you say about concealment? They're all fairly big, and actually that surprised me a little bit. 12.36, because it is a relatively small heavy tank. Really, this should probably be a medium tank, but whatever. We're looking at only 7. That's quite a big difference, although the 34 is at 6, so it's the size of a 34, so it's going to have the concealment more or less of a 34. The view range, this is very dependent on your crew, and unfortunately I'm not able to strip this down completely and show you what the base is, but I've got 437 on this guy, I've got 421 on that one, and 409. So the 34 is a little bit worse view range, it would appear, than the 54E2, but it is solid and right in there. So just a quick comparison amongst the 3, and really it's interesting because with the American tanks, you've kind of got this big stick heavy hitter guy, slow reload, with a great turret. You've got the other option was the much faster firing T26E5 with okay turret armor, but was able to be a bit more mobile, or quite a bit more mobile. So you had the mobile pew pew gun, the great big slow hammer gun, and now you've got something sort of in between, but actually even a little more sprightly than the T26E5. So it feels a bit better than a T26E5 overall. And you know, I like the 34 because of the pen and how it hits. Let's just take a quick look though at the gold, because we've got 226 pen with 255 gold. On this tank we're running 230 with 259. Oh, very interesting, right? So 4 more pen out of the T26, and then we've got this great 248, 297, and this is where this pen, with the gold especially, is where this tank really suffers quite a bit compared to the other two, right? It's got less gold, and the T34 is a tank that is very happy to shoot tier 10s, whereas the T54E2, not so much. It will struggle against some of the more heavily armored ones, especially from the front. All right, let's move on to my stats. All right, let's take a look at my stats. You can see them right here. I ran 20 battles for you. I came up with a 50% win rate at 970 on the experience, which is decent, a little low. I would not expect, but I would love it to be 1,000 or more on the experience for a tier 8, especially premium tank, heavy tank, around 1,000. Taking a look at this, I've got a 77.33 hit rate. I've survived 40% of my battles, which is a good survival rate, especially for only a 50% win rate. My damage and destruction are comparable to the other tanks. I'll take a look at the 2 that we already talked about, the T26E5 and T34, in just a minute. Armor use is at 0.56, so anytime you're at about 0.5, that's good situational armor. For a heavy tank, that probably means you're doing some good hold down and side scraping stuff. If you're at 1.0 or close to 1.0, it means you've just really got a nicely heavily armored tank. Experience I talked about, 2,163 is pretty decent for my tier 8 heavies as a DPG. Damage at 1286, 592 is okay for assistance. One of the interesting numbers, or 2 of the interesting numbers, was my destruction ratio at 1.58 is kind of low, and my vehicles destroyed at 0.95, less than 1, is a bit of an aberration for me. If we take a look at the other tanks that I already compared it to, you can see that I'm sitting at 1,900 damage for the T26E5, which is less, about the same for the assist damage, but look at that destroyed, 1.56. The destruction ratio, 2.71, quite a bit higher, although the damage ratio is very similar, as are all these other numbers right here, with a really nice 81% on that nice accurate little pew-pew gun. T34 is a little bit different at 1891, so less on the average damage. You can see I've got 3,000 battles in that thing, and both that and the T26E5, I'm running over a 60% win rate. T34 was one of my first premiums, so there's a lot of potato games in there. But that being said, the damage and destruction is much higher. Interesting, the armor use on all these are about the same, so all of them have a decent hold down capability with their turrets, and you can see that I'm running about the same ability on the armor use. I think the slightly less on the T34 is speaking to its bad hull armor right there. damage received, all these rest of these numbers, vehicles spotted, don't really matter. So as you can see, the numbers themselves, other than the win rate, and it's a small sample size at 20, I would expect it to be a 55 to 60% win rate solo heavy tank for me if I played 100 battles or 200 battles in it. But the numbers are all fairly similar to my other two comparable American heavy tanks. So you can see with that it's probably going to perform as well, if not a little better, than your other American heavy tanks if you have those premiums. Let's move on to my setup. All right, I have the commander from Twitch Care Package India, I believe it is. So I put Lieutenant Marie Legrand in there, and then I've got 3 other of the female prizes, whatever. We're not going to go off. I was going to go off on that again. We'll let that go. Anyway, I've got 3 other crew members that I took from my 110 E5, and the commander is cooling her heels in the 110 E5 right now. I just wanted to get that commander out there and into a tank and start working up the experience on it for future movement. But that's what I had. You can see that it's a 2 crew skill with their 3rd skill pretty high up there, so it's actually pretty good crew in there. Don't worry about the modules, it's a premium. I'm running a vert stab, a rammer, and vents, and I feel like for a heavy that's about the best you can get. Some people might argue that they put optics on it. I don't know for a heavy necessarily, but that would be an option right there. But I think that's your best setup. I carried 10 gold rounds. Remember, they're relatively low pen. That's a bit of a bummer. I've got 28 AP and 4 HE for those emergency situations where you just have to have HE let you down. 2 large kits, a large fire extinguisher, and I did run directives. Anything that helps with the gun handling or with the reload, such as the gun rammer directive, is recommended for that. So that was my setup for the tank. Let's take a look at 3 examples of gameplay. Well, all right, I lied to you. We're only going to show you 2. So I went to my folder and somehow I've lost one. Do not know how I managed that, but I did. So we'll give you 2 examples of gameplay. But here we are in our brand new T95 E2, and we are same tier. So we're on Fjords. That's right, I called it Fjords. That is what I call it. Does anybody know how you pronounce that? No, don't tell me. I know. I know. All right, here we go. We're headed down here to the south, and we're going to play Punchy Face with our heavy. So I would like to see how the T95 E2 works in Punchy Face area. So let us go find out. Now look, pretty nice mobility. It goes zinging right by the KV4. Not that it would take much to be faster or more mobile than a KV4, but there you go. Your brand new T95 E2 should do much better as far as scooting around than a T94 does. Sorry, KV4. What's a T94? I have no idea. KV4. The TL1 LPC goes over there and immediately gets punished. And I feel like, well, why don't we surprise them? They're shooting this guy up. They're probably thinking, ooh, maybe nobody's going to be here. Maybe those slow heavies will not come in. I'm thinking, no, KV4, don't let him know. And then here comes it. He gets absolutely murderized. Yeah, so watch out for that, folks. Have a little internal clock in your brain and think to yourself, have I really given the enemy team enough time to get there? And if I go raging out, attacking what I think is 1 tank, will there actually be 3 or 4? That's just... KV4 goes in wanting to do some good work. The 53 TP somehow gets a piece of me. Now, I didn't look at this earlier. Did he just shoot my weak spot? Let's find out, folks. Or did I just actually get shot right in? Yep, there it is. Remember that weak spot? Right through it. Now, that's probably worst case, really, for this tank. Anytime that you're coming around a corner and the right side of the turret is showing first, he's going to be shooting that before you get your gun online. So notice I didn't even have a shot when he did that. So there you go. Definitely something you've got to watch out for with this tank. So I'll just sneak one into his hull finally as I try to push this WZ out of the way. We'll pull back and we'll drop a nice 353 on the guy. We'll just come in here, hide behind this guy. Now I'm hiding behind him. Thankfully he got shot, right? I went hull down, but that big tumor is still exposed. It's just something you're going to have to fight through constantly with this tank. I think maybe I can get this guy. Oh, just a crit on him. Use a little bit of that mobility. We'll sneak by the KV4. Pretty decent reload speed on this. Not bad at all for the alpha that you're getting out of it. And the DPM, as I showed you, with a good crew and a rammer, ends up being pretty darn nice for a heavy tank. So we'll just push on in here, especially considering the alpha that it gets. And we're right through them like a hot knife through butter. Now I'm looking for the TDs. Come around this corner. And as you can see then, it fights quite nicely on heavy corners. You just have to deal with the crummy giant tumor that's on there. So let's see how our accuracy is. Just not quite fully zoomed, but I get there. Good enough accuracy for those mid-range almost snapshots. Their LT moves across, and now we're just looking for TDs. I don't want to walk into all of them. Now I'm trying to find this guy. There we go. That's a piece of him I can get. Drop a 357 on him. And down he goes. So we'll keep on moving in. Used a little bit of gold early on. Was able to switch back over to AP because of the soft nature of the rest of their tanks. Looking to maybe get some high ground here. Yep, so I go up the hill a little bit, hoping to clear my gun or clear that building so I can put my gun on the Sioux. Or the, yeah, either Sioux. I thought there was a Sioux Arty. There's no Sioux Arty. The Sioux 130 or any of the Arty over there. I think a bit of a chance right here being shot in the back if those guys see me, but they're around the corner and there's all kinds of dudes hiding out back there. So I'll put a little shot into him. Put a 373 into there. He's backing up, trying to get out of the way. The 1:30 p.m. Not going to get a shot on him, and maybe not a shot on him either. He's hiding, so I'll just keep on heading up the hill. Looks like we've got a couple mediums potentially up here. There's the P Victoria. The Lynx is raging around, getting beat up, and I've got a bit of a head start to get to the rest of the hit points. I just sort of ignored those guys. I saw 3 of my teammates going down there to jump all over them, and I went up that hill knowing that I might get a shot on them. I got one, so that works, and now I'm the first up the hill to get to the rest of the hit points. P Victoria is being a little bit silly, poking at a bunch of TDs. Interesting that the TDs have these guys on the ropes and haven't done anything but sit in those bushes. That is such a typical thing of TD players in general, and really a lot of the player base at this point. This game is a romple stomp, and they should have been pushing up in there long ago, and now they finally figure it out, right? They go, oh, there's people on their cap. We've won in every direction, and here comes the relatively fast guys. But because I got a head start, I'm going to get up here a little bit earlier and start getting some shots on these guys. So there's this feller looking at the other way. He really is just sort of ignoring me. A decent reload. Looks like, is he tracked? No, he's just sitting there. We'll try to track him that time and see if we can get some tracking damage out of it. There we go. The nice thing about that shot is you can get a track and the damage because of the angle. The shot will go through the track and into the hitbox of his hole right there, so that's always helpful. Give yourself a little bit of extra damage in there. We'll put one more into the P Victoria. And I'm just going to drive up and over. Who cares if he shoots me? I just want to get a nice clear shot on this guy. There we go. Down he goes. So we end up winning 3,698 damage, 1,408 assist damage, and a kill and a complete romple stomp. But you can see it is quite competent in the heavy brawling zone down there, minus the ability of people to go right through the weak spot. Now, I would imagine the guy that shot my weak spot, maybe he knows about this tank, but there's not many of these out there, just a few of the CCs right now. But it's just obvious, isn't it? I mean, my point is, if you've played this game at all and you understand a weak spot, you'd go, oh, I think that's probably a weak spot. And that's where I ate that shot right there. Let's look at the second example. The second example, we're top tier, and just watch how this thing can pretty much dominate, like most top tier heavies should be able to. The point of it is, it's not really one of those trick tier 8s, right? It's not a big lumbering Marbreaker or 100.01. It's not one of these soft heavies, glass cannon heavies, or an autoloader. It's just a solid single shot heavy tank, and it can do heavy tank things. All the heavy tank things you need it to do, it can pretty much do. So we'll come around here. We got a King Tiger C with us. I posted up there just to avoid getting shot by the artillery if I could, and then I'm trying to get by the King Tiger. I'm like, dude, I really don't want this inside spot, but I want to just go by you, and you've completely clogged up this. I didn't want to go over to the right of him. Now I know they have the Type 64 up top, so I'm kind of watching him, but he's a little bit further up there. So I'll come over to this corner here. What I wanted to do is cross this area, but I'll just accept that I'm going to come across here and take a shot. Now, that hit, but unfortunately I only got into the track, or it was just a crit no damage of some kind. Looks like it hit the track. So I'll hit him and back out, and I've got to worry about the arty. Notice that when I come around this corner, much like the last game, unfortunately I'm coming from left to right, and the tumor is going to come out from behind the cover first, which is a bit of a bummer. I'm trying to maybe bait him, see if he'll shoot. We got a tiger, comes really wide right there. That's just ill-advised. Then he's going to drive out and take a hit or two. Boom. And he got nothing out of it. He goes out, takes a hit, doesn't want to go and get tracked again by the autoloader. So I'll try a little side scrape action this time. Shoot that into the side of a nicely angled IS-6. That's going to have a hard time going through. As advertised, I bounce, and now the tiger, that's why I said it's ill-advised to be that far out over there, that he's exposing himself to artillery. We have a Su-122S, interestingly, comes up the hill. Unknown how on earth he got all the way across it up the hill without dying, but he just drives up there and kills the 64. I don't think you'd have had a more surprised Type 64 in any game than to have been killed that early by a Su-122S that drove right up that ramp. That was pretty funny. So I see the T-29 just come around there, and now I'm just sort of hanging out. We've got an advantage of 3 of them dead. They're pushing a bit down in the southeast. Now the T-29 is getting punished by the Su-122S, and these guys are sort of busy, and I'll just take another snap in there, and unfortunately that bounces. Now they come back a little bit. They've dropped a couple of us down, so now it's 3-2. And we've got 3 of their heavies over here, and all of a sudden we lose another guy, and now I'm thinking, all right, this is not going great. I'm sort of stuck on this corner. Maybe this 122S will go get us some damage, or maybe get rid of this T-29. And I'll think maybe I'll try a side scrape here again. Maybe they're busy looking. They are. There we go. So a little bit more careful aim. You can see that medium range shot is fairly comfortable with this gun. It's not too bad. I see the IS-6 trying to bait him. This time it goes in. Crit damage. There you go. Just trying to bait him. If I can get him to shoot a couple times, maybe I can come out and put a shot into this dude who is not paying attention. And still isn't. So as long as he's doing that, whatever it is he's doing there, I'll just accept it, and I'll see if I can sneak one more into him. There we go. Of course, I've pressed 2, got the skill going. Thought about going right there, but decided against it. The T-29 dies, and that is fantastic. But we got a problem back behind us, so I'm going to spin back around. Although they've done some more damage to them, the ones that were pushing, so our campers were able to clean a few of their pushers up, and now it's looking pretty good. I'll head back to the middle right here, because I really don't want, there's plenty of heavies dealing with the IS-6 and the Emil, and I really don't want them either A, to come around behind me, or get up onto our cap, or B, push around the corner for their TDs to kill us while we're trying to take out the IS-6 and the Emil who are hiding. So I feel like, you know what? I know what I can do here. You can get some shots in their back, or I can find some of their dudes up on the camping hill up here. So we'll see what happens. I also see our Type 64 going in, so that's going to give us some opportunities. I'll let that zoom in. Good deal. Goes into him. Not quite zoomed in, but it worked. And he just drives right up. I don't know. I don't know what on earth that plan was, but he surely gave me another shot. So I dropped another 399. I'll back out. He misses, thankfully, and I'm not going to quite get this shot. I just fire it in there and see what happens. He's backed out of there. The Sioux appears to be way down in the south, so I'm not too worried. He is fast. He may have come back. But for now, because we have so many guns all over these guys, I'll just come in here and start working on the IS-6 and then push in. Go front armor to the IS-6. People are hitting them from every direction. I don't need to shoot. There's the 152, and now I get hit by the JP, who actually comes around the corner, figures it out. Down goes the Su-152. JP hits me, covers back up, and now we'll move on in. So 2,553. We got a whole 17 assists. We got to figure out the Black Prince, the JP. There's the 130. It's way over there. See if we can take him down. The gun's comfortable. It really is. I mean, that wasn't fully zoomed. It wasn't quite a full snapshot, but I let it zoom in. I let it zoom in just a bit, and it made it happen. I think this gun, for me, we say this a lot. It's hard to quantify with actual fact, but It just feels better than the numbers say. I don't know how to say it any better than that. If there are soft stats, maybe it's just RNG. I mean, there's a lot of things that it could be, but it really does feel a lot better. The M54 hits me. Just let that zoom in. We'll take him down. Then I get whacked by the M4043. You can see the Black Prince. I'll just accept it, whatever, accept my fate. I don't have a kit to fix it. Otherwise, I would have fixed it. And I might have actually reloaded in time and we end up winning. So 3,273, 1,267. Very permissive environment. I was top tier. The enemy team wasn't especially great. But the point of that is that this tank will heavy tank. And I feel like it heavy tanks even better than, say, a T-34 or even a T-26E5 because it's got a bit of hull armor to go along with the package and some mobility. So it really is a tweener between the T-26E5 and the T-34, where the T-34 is the giant stick and the T-26E5 is the pew-pew with a little more maneuverability. This dude is solidly in between the two. And it's a little more comfortable doing heavy tank things at tier 8. Let's wrap this up. All right, wrapping it up. This is the point where I tell you whether you buy it or not, right? No, no, I don't do that. I don't. That is to taste. Completely up to you. I liked it. I thought it was good. Like I sort of already talked about what my wrap-up would be on the video. I said it heavy tanks better than the T26E5 and the T34 do. I think both those are good tanks, but they're a little bit different in the heavy tank regime, aren't they? T34 has no hull armor, but it's a massive hold-down beast, but it just takes forever to reload and it hits hard. T26E5 is pew, 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 pew. Doesn't really make anybody scared of its gun, but it gets around the battlefield and can really start dropping the DPM if it gets pins. Decent hull armor and okay turret. This thing is in between those two. Mobile, maybe even a little more mobile, frankly, than the T26E5 when you take the whole package into account. Good hold down fighter, nice turret, and a fairly decent stick as far as how hard it hits and being getting a little bit of the fear factor going on. So I found it in between. One of the interesting things about this, though, that I wanted to touch on last before we go here is, and I don't know when this is going to come out because I've got the TL1 LPC right here to show you in the garage as well, and I've already done a review on this, and this is a medium tank. I think the biggest knock you're going to find about the 54E2 is its gold round is trash. It is. It's not very good. And it's especially jarring when you compare it to the TL1 LPC, a medium tank, by the way, that is rolling around with 280. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Let's get this. Sorry. 280 pen, right? It's 208 with its AP, but 280 with its heat. Then you go to the 54E2 and running around with 226, which is a better regular AP round, but only 255 for a heavy with its APCR. And the last thing I'll leave you with, I just found that interesting because they both have come out lately. Again, unknown when the 54E2 is coming out. The last thing I'll leave you with is at some point in the near future, we're going to get a gold round rebalance. So I don't know where that leaves tanks like the 54E2 who have bad gold pin. Does it end up helping them because the pen will be moved around? Does it end up hurting them because they still have crummy pen and their gold rounds doing less damage, or whatever it is that Wargaming is going to do with the gold rounds? I throw that out there because if you're planning on spending money on it, I don't know what that's going to do to your dollar value. I really don't. Right now, it's a pretty good heavy tank. I quite enjoyed it. I did not at first when I was running a 30% win rate, but once I sort of got the hang of it and understood its role, it started to come on. And I did a lot better, and you can see the end result was a DPG that's high for me for tier 8s. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate it. If you want to support the channel, the details are down in the description down there. If you could leave me a like or a subscribe or whatever, I would appreciate that. And that is all I've got, so we will see ya.